You are listening to Faith in the Firehouse. This is a podcast by firefighters talking about Jesus, the fire service, and life around the firehouse, taking a look at things through the lens of the gospel. We are not pastors, preachers, or Bible scholars. We're just firefighters after God's own heart, and we want to talk about it. If you want to join in the conversation, hit the comment section. If you want to support us, just like, subscribe, share. We appreciate it. Leave us a 5-star review. This is episode 49. I'm your host, Daniel, and this is the final installment from Bearers of the Oath 2026. And ironically, it's the first thing we recorded when we got there after a long day of traveling. Nate Sturm and I sat down with Shane Bentley, Travis Major, Kevin Pfluger, and Josh Lantz, some of the cadre from Bearers of the Oath, after they had a long day out at the training grounds, just buttoning up the build out for the week. And we sat down in the lobby, and the goal was just to have a genuine conversation about Bearers of the Oath, how it came about, what it means to them personally each. And there's no outline, there's no question and answer like your traditional podcast interview. We just wanted a genuine conversation. And Shane shares with us how Bearers of the Oath came about, how COVID affected the fire service, and how it shaped those early conferences. And Shane also shares some real life lessons about the consequences that can come when you let the fire service take place over your family and your relationships, and most importantly, when you put anything before God. And it's a theme that you'll see over and over again as a believer. When we put something before God, He will take it away from us. But when you're ready to put Him first, He will bring you back, restore it, He will redeem it if you're willing to do things His way. And then He's going to use you in a mighty way. So just when Shane thought he was done with the fire service, done with fire conferences, God called him back. And he talks about the struggle to answer that call because of those consequences that had come. But God assured him this is where He needed him. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, you thought Bearers of the Oath was good? Watch what happens when you put Christ at the center of it. And that's what he did in 2025. So this is a little look behind the scenes of what goes into the making of a Born Again Fire Conference. Hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. God bless.
Oh, man. It's going to be a great week.
It's going to be amazing, man, honestly. Yeah. It's really going to be, like, you sit and look at, that's what I was looking when Travis was come down here a minute ago. I was looking at all the students that's coming from places. Like, normally, since Bearers became Bearers, we used to travel all over the state. Me and Jason and Robbie, Jay Hurley, Pete, all those guys, We used to travel around teaching classes all the time. When Don got fired from the fire academy, we all chucked the deuces with it, We was trying to do a lot of the stuff down there, but it was just, you can't. They just wouldn't allow it, and they weren't there. Still aren't, and we would teach our own. We'd go, anybody would call. Rojo was one of the first ones in their old burn box. And we started just going around everywhere. We'd shack up 4 or 5 of us in a hotel room, and we had a ball doing it. And I had no idea it would be this. I really didn't. But when we started, the first one we done was in Jackson County, right in the middle of COVID. And the reason we done it is because we was all trapped up from March. And we had just, so the Friday that COVID hit, that Friday, I think it was March 14th, 2020, we always done a Franklin County Firefighter Weekend, done it for like 6 years. And it got pretty big. And it was 100% free for everybody. And we all just footed it out of our pockets. And they called that Friday from the state standards and training. David Bullard's the one that called. He said, hey, y'all need to shut that down. You hear what's going on? I'm like, yeah, well, that ain't gonna happen. And we did, and we just went on about it. Well, then of course it shut the fire service down, right? We couldn't even leave the station, We got wrote up for running a little girl that was, and she ended, a little 8-year-old girl ended up dying from COVID. And that was the first time we left, and we were told not to run calls. We all heard it come over, and that was in May or June. And like our city manager and our human resources, they went nuts on us. So I stood up for all the guys, and I said, no. I said, it was me, I made the call, which I did. It was literally a mile down the street from us, right downtown. And we got there, and she was so hot you couldn't touch her. And I immediately called for Air Life, because they were right there. They're stationed and language barrier, people all over the place. It was a hot mess. And I picked her up and ran to the ambulance with her. And it never crossed your mind, like, she's got you know, nobody knew what that was at the time. So, but little girl was dying, she did die. And when we came back, they sent us home. We got through that, and we were coming back from somewhere. And I'd had this thought process of bears for the plaque, right? The plaque that you got, I collected insurance markers for years, and I had them lined across the top border in my office. And I sat there one night, and I'd already wrote everything that's on the back of this shirt, but it's not what it said. It was very personal. The original, it was everything I'd failed with. And so I started one night in my office, I wrote what you see on the back of the shirt now. But every one of them was my personal failures. I just selfishly put it down like it is now because I knew people would want it. They would wear it. The reason I'd done that is because I knew every time I'd seen it, it would be right to the face, right? And I had no idea it was just us local, you know? And I went to Jason, Painter, Humpy, a bunch of those guys. I said, man, what do y'all think about this, you know? And that's where it came from. When we done the first conference, it was in October. So this how it transpired within just like 3 or 4 months. I forgot where we were coming back from, and they said, let's do it. Well, at that point in time, so like how Georgia's different from you guys, a little background on that, is you guys got fire colleges all over the state, right? Mm-hmm. And it's really hard for some people to even get into fire service in Florida, right? In certain places, right? They wait forever, have to put themselves through fire college. So, but in the state of Georgia, you're governed by standards and training. So, and we have one fire academy in the state. Now, these training centers like we're at now, they're all over the state. I mean, there's awesome training facilities, and they've grown and vast too.
And they're run by the fire department? Or?
Yes, they're run by the fire department, but whether it's a county or city municipality, every department is governed by standards and training. It's not very progressive. Is that fair to say? Not fair. But that's where our standards come from, right? So we started talking about it, and word got around that we were talking about doing a fire conference. And like we put it together from August, we put it together in like 2 months. And we started advertising on Facebook, and like it blew up. Everybody's calling, texting, hey, we want to come. Not just from Georgia, nobody in Georgia hardly. Hall County was a big one, which is a big metro department. A lot of Gwinnett, some Atlanta guys, DeKalb guys, your big metro departments. And then people from Texas, not Texas that time. The first time it was people from California. Everybody was just ready they was trapped in their stations, right? And when we started advertising on Facebook, the state, the fire academy called, standards and training called, said, y'all can't do this. And the lieutenant governor ended up calling.
Wow.
Yeah, and said, hey, we're really advising it, because we were still in a shutdown. It was right in the middle. We were 6 months into this deal, right? I'm sure for you guys it was crazy too, but for us it was, it was destroying the inside of our department. And so they called, and the worst thing, and this is not a good attribute to have a lot of times, but the worst thing you can do is tell me no, right? And that's not good all the time, and when they called and said, hey, we don't need to do this, that just said, okay, watch and see. Well, we reached out to the EMA director where Webb lives in Jackson County and said, hey, this is what we want to do. They're like, yeah, go right ahead. Like, okay. We advertised it, put together. We had like 140 people show up, and it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And me and Todd were pretty close at the time. He came. Like we had a great time, but people just, like it was a big thing. It was like nothing was going on nowhere. None of these micro conferences or conferences today you didn't hear about that stuff. So we done it in 3 days, and it was a big hit. That was in August. We done the next one in March. That's when then it was like 200 and something people. When did y'all come, the third, fourth one?
Third. That's
when they started coming from Texas. Him and Captain Everett reached out. But by the third one, so we done the first 4 in 18 months. There was nothing going on, right? And then by that point, it started to tail off, right? It was just, everybody was learning to live but it was exhausting. I mean, it was awesome, but it grew from 3 days to 4 days then ever since then it's been 5 days. But it was, and then there was a couple of years there that was a break just because of everything that went on with my career and with how things turned out with that. And then it really affected my family tremendously. And these guys, this is about the time that these guys I got started becoming friends with Kevin when they came to the 3rd one in Jackson County. And we got all the guys from Texas. Y'all came to Dalton for the 4th one. Yeah, and like that 4th one it was awesome. Texas had a big footprint on it. That's how everybody's asked, how did you meet all these guys from Texas? They came to Georgia. The thing about like his previous chief was amazing for them. I don't know much about Universal City, but you guys got to come too, right? But like
he skipped one when he came.
What?
He came to the 2nd one that we had at Dalton.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, because I went to Jefferson, I went to Dalton, and then the next one he came to Dalton.
The next time you guys came to Dalton, that's when y'all done the first push class, right?
Yeah. Well, we were doing engine ops.
Yeah.
As part of the.
Yeah, but that was at the time. That was you.
Yeah.
That was the first time you and Tom actually taught the class.
With Sparky.
But at that point, it was just. But it was, like I said, 4 of them in 18 months was. There's a lot of really awesome relationships that came from that. At the time, this is where I think it's probably the most important thing for people to understand. For me, is at that time in my life, it was just like. It would consume me. And the way things ended abruptly for me in my career, at the time I didn't understand it, but it was the best thing that could happen for me, right? It really reset me. I mean, I went from being high up here, and the only thing that I ate, slept, and breathed was shift, bears of the oath. I was teaching somewhere when I could, and guess what didn't matter? God and my family, right? And at that time, I was raised in church. I've always been very faithful, and we pledged and prayed. I thought that was enough, right? And so when all of that happened, just spiraled downhill. I went downhill with it, but very few people knew how I went down with it. And like, if it wasn't for my wife and a handful of people, these 2 guys and a few others. Like, there were some really great people involved in my life at that time, but when that all happened, a lot of those people went away. And I was extremely hurt, right? And there was about a 2-year period?
2-year gap.
Yeah, there was a 2-year gap between Bears and then Bears now. But I was without these guys and a few others in my life, I don't know if I would ever have done it again. That's what I thought at the time. And I was at a point a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, where we were talking about it. And what was crazy, people were calling all the time, hey, when y'all doing Bears again? When you doing Bears again?
I remember I was doing that a lot.
Yeah, you were. He reached out all the time. And part of me was, I would always tell, I don't know, we're working on it, But truthfully, I was scared to death. And because of, one, I was still caught up in a lot of things going on in my career, and 2, I was inside. I was a mess, ashamed. I'd never experienced nothing like that, and I was to a point. And I was at this point. They were very influential at this point, and like I wanted to do it again, but I didn't want to do it again. I was terrified to bring that back to my family. And my wife up until that point was always a huge supporter. Always there, kids always there. And like, she didn't want nothing to do with it because it caused so much hurt and pain with our family. And she was hell bent against having anything to do with it or me even doing it again. And I went to Dadgum when he done the first Dadgum. And like, I didn't know what to expect because it'd been so long. It was such a gap for a while that when I got there, I realized, man, how much I missed it, right? But then at the same time, I was still like, how do I do this again, right? And part of me really didn't want to do it again, but I did. And I don't know how, just the God honest truth, God laid it on my heart in September of 24 and said, this is how we're going to do this. And this is why it's being done the way it is now.
So the one in 2024, Bears of the Oath 5, that was the first one after taking a break from it?
That was in February of 25, last year.
So like 19 hit, it was a big success. So you just kept doing them.
Yeah.
You did the first 4 in a year, you said?
Done 4 of them in 18 months.
18 months.
That's 6 months. I mean, it was October of 20, March of 21, October of 21, March of 22. And then everything went. And what was crazy was my department was very supportive. So many people were removed. I live in a small town. This is a small town, but it's where I live is a little smaller than this. So everybody knows everybody, right? And I'd always been very influential, even before Bears of the Oath. Like I said, there's a group of us, and you'll get to meet a lot of these guys this weekend. Man, we never got paid. We didn't have no money. We'd pile up the back of the trucks, everything we had, air packs, tools, and we'd go there, and it didn't matter where. Somebody let us come. We'd have the best time. We'd all shack up and split a hotel, $15, $20, and 4 or 5 of us be in a hotel room, and had the best time then. But yeah, so February of 25 last February, a year ago, this week, this week ending, Bears of 05 finished Friday last year. So, but what happened last year was, man, it was there's nothing short of amazing about what happened to me, because financially I used to have all the sponsorship that you could have, like I had, and we've always done it a little different. It was always, we wanted people to be involved with it, because one, we tried to keep it as affordable as possible, right? There's not an instructor that'll be here this week, and there's plus 40. Nobody's getting paid. But what we did with the money, we always took and did what we do. We take care of travel, arrangements, hotels, and and we've sat down and talked over the years, like, and these guys can attest to it, but I always said, hey, I never wanted to be a business. And it's had the opportunity to be that. But I also knew how it took from me and my family. I never wanted to do that to everybody else's family, because I've called these guys before and said, hey, so they want to do this class here. And then these dudes up and go just like that. We've never not had a class that didn't sell out. And never, not once. And but I always had in the back of my mind, like, I don't want to take them away. Like, we could do it all the time, even to this day. And I say this with humility. I still turn there. I don't even tell most of these, I don't even say this all, but we turn more away than we ever do. Like, this week is enough, right? And supporting what he does, supporting what anybody else gets to do, just to get to be a part of it, and help anybody else with it. That's enough for me now. But February of last year, man, it was just the testimonies that came out of it, how it affected everybody, all these guys, man, and the friendships that it's brought with it. The same reason we're all sitting here right now.
That's exactly why I'm here.
Yeah, and to the point to where we're at right now, and it's always been a thing to where never tell nobody no. Like, if they want to be there, what I didn't realize, that I thought it was all of these sponsors that was providing. It wasn't. It was God providing. And even last year, when I told them to first, I said, look, I told my wife first, and I was terrified to do that, honestly. And I just sat down and told her, I said, look, God's put this on my heart as a conviction. And I said, I can't ignore it. And I was terrified, like I would tell her that, and she would have been, up to that point, she would have been no. But she only supported it at the then and now, because of the presence of God in my life and how it saved my family. And so, but I was terrified. I didn't know, like, I knew it was put on my heart. It had to be pronounced and announced as a faith-based conference. The training's great. You'll see these guys are amazing at training. I just get to be everybody gets to be this small part right here, which turns into what it is, right? But I was terrified that nobody would come. I told these guys. And man, October 1st or November 1st of 24, I put it on there, and like, I was blown away. It's like, but then the people that came, there was a lot of the people that came before, and the support was bigger than it ever had been. And that's only for one reason and one reason only. And the friendships that it's brought, like, I thought the fire service was the reason I got to meet all these people, right? I got to meet you. That's what I used to say. That was just the avenue God was using. I just wasn't doing it the way God wanted me to do it till last year, till we started. And even after we left, like, the devil got us. He tried to take us out last year. We were so overwhelmed with God's presence. And they talk about it, Peter talks about it, right? And God and Jesus told Peter, like, don't be overwhelmed with my presence, because when you're overwhelmed with my presence, that's when Satan attacks, right? You have to always, and that's what I felt like happened last year. We were so overwhelmed with God's presence, the devil just slid right in on us. And we had no idea that it was happened till it just happened that day. And it took a bunch of people out and instructors out. And like, it broke my heart Friday to have to cancel that day. Because we had to cancel that Friday. There was, students were going out left and right, instructors were going out left and right, sick. Wow. And, but we realized really quick what was happening. There's nobody can tell me any different that was not the devil trying to take us out. And I didn't make it. When I left Douglas County that Friday afternoon, like, all of a sudden you start thinking about, man, what just really happened this week? What was the young man from Live Oak?
Isaiah.
Isaiah.
Yeah, like, he didn't even want to be there, and gets there and walks in that Monday morning and sees this cross, and then reads this poem, and just 3 weeks before that he was talking about taking his own life.
Wow.
Right, and then sitting back, their training facility where Travis works at is where we done the last year, and I got to tell you, Douglas County has always been they've been very welcoming to us and supportive. But I didn't realize even at that point, what God was actually doing, bringing more relationships and people in my life. And that's the same thing that keeps happening, and the only reason that's happening is because being obedient to him. And it's like I know, I had no idea what to expect last year.
Were you worried it was gonna maybe turn some people off or be off-putting for those?
That I
wasn't.
wasn't.
Wouldn't even think about it.
No, I kind of had the mentality like, well, when I finally took it and said, all right, I hear you, God, this is what we're gonna do. I was worried that people wouldn't come, but no more, when I put it in open registration, man, like, it was like, holy cow. Which was cool is there's a lot of people that came that had been there previous, but there was a lot of people a lot of younger guys and girls that had been there that came that had never been to something like that, right? I think that was Douglas County at the point in time was just as good for us as it was them, because of they were in a phase, and still are in a phase, where they're going like this, right? And getting to be a part of that and watch that, I realized exactly what was going on then, and I realized, like, God's given us this platform now. And it's not about the fire training to me anymore. I'm very biased and I'm very selfish. You won't get a better group of guys. When it comes to teaching tactics, teaching skills, teaching people how to overcome their fears, how these guys treat them, like, that's the easy part, right? But seeing what happened that Monday was the footprint for right now, tomorrow, Monday through next week. But I see it now more than ever by being obedient to God. Because I'll be the first to tell you, I haven't always been, and I'm by no means perfect, but being obedient to God has created this. And I mean, I told y'all what it costs to have all of us here, just to get us so we have somewhere to sleep, right? What a blessing, I mean, and nobody's here getting paid. And that's what I was talking about at supper. All of the people that signed up from departments that's never been here, because we've always had a big footprint of Texas, a lot of the same departments have always sent people, and they always bring more people with them. But now looking at all of the departments that's never been that's coming this year, and the students that they're sending, I can't help but think and be thankful, is because the way we announce ourselves is why. And people's we're in the middle of a revival right now. I believe that. And people are, whether they're young men or young women or new in the fire service career, there's people that are looking for this. And it's not, and this is the thing about it. For me, it is 100%, very faith driven for me. But there's people that will come here and get to meet all of these men and these guys, and get to hear their testimonies and hear their stories Monday, right? Like, they'll tell you, I don't know what they're going to say or what they're going to present. I want to be able to experience it with you and with Travis and with Josh, just like we're going to get to. And for everybody else to get to experience that at the same time, it's what's the coolest thing about when these classes end, whether it's a week-long class or if it's a rid or die class, 2 or 3 days, it's all like the groups, the friendships, watching the friendships that's grown from it. It's the best feeling in the world. And I used to think the best feeling in the world was because we put on some really awesome training, stayed up all night partying, hung out, and to see what's the really most humbling part of it for me is not only to see what God has provided with for it to grow, but how it's brought all of us together as friends, and it's changed our lives. You know, and some days everybody has bad days, and I never forget where I came from. I don't want to forget where I came from, because if I do, I'm not strong enough to do it by myself. I have to have the accountability of these guys, right? But to see that is the most just sense of gratification that I've ever, just watching these guys interact with not only each other, but the students. And we're all there for the same reason, you know? And people will show up this week, they have no idea really what they're coming into, but it will change their life, you know? And I've always loved doing for others. I've always loved giving. I'd do anything for anybody. At the same time, if you hurt somebody that's close to me, that's really taught me how to take and approach and learn to do things in a godly manner versus the flesh manner, because by God, I'm not perfect and I do struggle. But I've had never since last year when we had Bears, number 5, I've never experienced such peace in my life. And God gave me so many opportunities to do that, but I didn't do it His way. So therefore, I done it my way. And from the outside looking in, we were doing really awesome stuff, but it wasn't the way in the manner that God had planned for me, and that's not the way He wanted me to do that. And I'll be honest with you, the training is, man, it's awesome. It really is. I don't know what's better, the training or watching all of these guys. I get to sit back, and they're all my friends, and I get to sit back and watch them share their passion with others and watch the relationships that they have grown into as friends, right? And to see that alone and the impact they have on students, right? Like in getting to be a part of that and just being obedient, man, it's the most overwhelming sense of peace that I've ever experienced. And it's also transitioned into my life the way my wife's coming this week. And that's huge, because there was a time where I was told if I was to ever think about doing it again, and that was hard. They can tell you that was really hard for me, but it wasn't the time. And also with everything that happened that went south and it was not great, it is also the rebuilding of my marriage and my relationship and my friendship with my wife. And for her to take and be here this week, that's, you know, and all of this is so much more rewarding than anything that I ever went through to get here. Anything prior to this, I know now I had to go through every bit of that to get to where I'm at now, because I wasn't obedient. I wasn't making a half-hearted attempt to be the person that at least God wanted me to try to be. And then he put certain individuals in your life that we were all broken, really broken at some point in time. I've experienced some stuff with these guys like that. I wanted to go take people out for them, you know. If you wanted, like, and it doesn't matter which one it is. Like but this, like, we had a conversation today that there's a common, I hate to call it a theme, but there's a common factor of a majority of the guys that you'll get to meet. They've all been through something very impactful in their career. And the reason that is, and most of these guys have a passion and drive that most of their departments didn't coincide with at the time, right? You don't have to get political about it. It's just something you see different, I see different. But that also creates target on your back. And we have to learn to take in, like, manipulation's a terrible word, right? Unless you take and learn how to manipulate somebody for the betterment of them. If you do it for you, you're no better than they are at that time. And it's tough, but I've watched these guys, and even Travis, you know, like, he's gone through a lot of stuff, and it, like, breaks your heart, because as you get to know these guys and you hear people come after them, it becomes personal. And then it says, and you go, well, man, they really don't understand and see where he's coming from. Just because of where he was, how he was, or he was, or he was, or he was, or you were, me 10 years ago, 5 years ago, or 2 years ago, that shouldn't cast a shadow of what everybody thinks of you today if you're trying, you know what I'm saying? And what that falls down to is how well do they really take and invest in really getting to know you and to understand why you feel the way you do about the job. Why, I mean, because I'll be honest with you, all of my career, I wasn't this way. I didn't get involved at the level with the fire service that I did till I went outside my department. And when I came back, I was excited, and it wasn't well received. And then these guys, like, there's a group, I have a lot of really awesome people in my life, but there's a group of guys that I've experienced some things in the last few years with them. Like, man, it's heartbreaking, right? But as bad as they were, as bad as they are at the time, I know now, like, I pray every morning that I pray for God to send them to me, because I know my shoulders can take it now. They might not know they can at the point right now. My bad days or my bad couple of years might be near as bad as theirs at the point in time. Just because mine was bad at that time, or the circumstances, their circumstances is their bad time. So I pray for God to send those people, anybody he can, to me to help be there and carry that load for them, you know, and help them get through that, because without people in my life, I couldn't have done that. So I don't even know how to explain it sometimes, but the only way I know how to explain it is God. Mm-hmm. That's just and you know, and to not talk about God and to not talk about Jesus, for me every day, like, I enjoy that. I really do. I enjoy that, and I don't expect anybody or everybody to be where I'm at there. But I know, me personally, he is what saved my life, saved my marriage. Is also, like, what happens tomorrow or next week for all of us, he already knows. Like, he knows what's going to happen in 6 months. Then you're in your position. He knows what's going to happen. He knows what, and so what the road that we have to go to get there, I know now. It might suck right now, but I promise you, I know it's going to be better. But I know the only reason that I'm sitting here being able to tell people is, I have to share it with them. I want to, because but I don't want to tell them. Like, I can tell you everything that was bad, and I don't mind sharing that with anybody. I mean, all you got to do is Google my name. But I also know I had to go through that because I wasn't adhering to the plan that he had for me. And it's as bad as things were, it's not near as impactful as good as things are now. It's like we pulled out of Applebee's, was sitting there at the red light. I said, man, we're so lucky. you know. And we said that how many times in the last, since us three have been together, you know. You know, it was talking about Natalie, you know, and we're joking around just the other day, 2 days ago, he was talking about the whole bullying thing, right? And something came up about Josh, and then when we was talking about Natalie tonight, I don't know why, but I immediately went back to thinking about Josh. I don't know all the circumstances, but I know that I like Josh and he's my friend and I care about him and I love him, and like if somebody wanted to hurt him or bully him or I would want to go. I immediately I'm like I'd go, you know. But that's what he's given to me, and as many people that he keeps continuing to put in my life, I want to do for them what he does for me. And I don't expect everybody to see it or feel the same way I do, but I'm going to share that with you if you give me the opportunity to. That doesn't change that we can't be friends. It doesn't change that I can't love you. It doesn't change that I can't do anything for you, but I know what he saved me from. And for that, I know that I wouldn't be right here right now without him. So it's the peace that comes with it is, I've never experienced the peace that I have now. And we are lucky. We're very lucky because he gives us the grace and the blessing to be able to do this, you know. So it's the bad will never outweigh the good. I have to, and I reflect on it very often. And when I do, there's a lot of times I break down and I'm just thankful. Like you would ask me 2 years ago that I could forgive the way that I have now, bro, I would have told you something totally different. But I truly do forgive the people, because the truth about it is, if you want to know the truth about anything, good, bad, that happened in my life, is because of the decisions that I made. In my job, I didn't love it any more than anybody else, certain people, right? But I made decisions that affected others and how they made decisions against me. That's not their fault. I made those decisions to put them in that situation. And when I realized that, that's when I realized I started taking, and things started changing for me. I had to fully, completely surrender. And that did things in my mental state, my life, my personal friendships, my marriage, my friendship with my wife, which I totally dishonored for years. Like, why she stuck around, man, I don't know. Well, I do know, but every decision that I made, because of the way I chose to live and act and prioritize my life and cause others to make the decisions they made or accusations that they made, was because of the decisions I made, not what they done. What they done, but it was an adverse effect to how I carried myself, and I didn't carry myself as a Christian. So, and that's what I try to tell people a lot is, man, for me, let me tell you why. And there's a lot of times I have conversations with people that I never even talk about, but and I have to tell them why. And the reason why I am where I'm at now and how I overcame that is because I was not on the plan and path that he chose for me. And that was the lesson that I had to learn. And it didn't get better till I fully 100% surrendered to God. I was a mess. I was a wreck till I fully surrendered. And you know what? That didn't change how I cared about people, because I've always cared about people, loved doing for others, loved now I get to have the same atmosphere with everybody. And it's the most rewarding feeling ever, you know. I honestly, I've never, I don't know how I made it as long as I did, because really the last year and a half is when I started encountering peace. And like, when I wake up in the morning now, like, I don't have no regrets, you know, only because I know I've been forgiven.
I'll be honest, when I showed up here, I was expecting, I've helped out with the Orlando Fire Conference and stuff, and I was expecting it to just be hectic and stressful, and you guys have been super chill. Like, your attitude the whole time has been peaceful, for sure.
It's, it's these, you're going to meet some, like I heard when you and Nate were talking earlier, I pray God overwhelms you with the same thing he's overwhelmed me with the grace of what I've gotten to experience. And it never fails, to see what happens. And if you back up, like at Douglas County this past year, I stood on top of their tower, or their burn building, and just walked around. I think the only person that saw me was Joe Johnson. This is the only person, and Jason Painter, because Jason Painter came up there. But I was just standing and walking and just watching, standing back like that. This was the first time that I pulled myself completely out and didn't do and it was killing me at first. I was like, man, I'm about to work myself out of a job, because I enjoy it as much as anybody else, being hands-on. But I had to see that, to realize and be thankful for what he was doing, and I stood up there on top of their burn building and just was thankful and cried in joy, because I tried to be as 100% as obedient as I could leading up to that. And man, he didn't do nothing but provide. And still, to this day, he is. And, if we could have 5 Mondays, I'd be A-okay with that. But I also know Tuesday through Friday is just as impactful as Monday. And it's just grace, man. It's just grace.
I'm really looking forward to Monday, like you said, with the lectures, which last year turned into basically testimonies.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for that. And for me, I know God's moving in the fire service, because all this was happening at the same time that God's moving in my fire department. He's moving in my life. And that's how I met Nate through Brandon and all this stuff. This is happening as it's happening in my life. So unfortunately it didn't, I didn't know about you guys because I'm just experiencing it at the same time. So I'm stoked to be here and experience it, but I'm also looking forward to, like you said, just hanging out on the fire grounds and connecting and chatting with people, and just more conversations like this.
Man, to take and see what happens is, I don't know, I can't do it justice. That's one thing I can say about, you're talking about that presence you got when you came up today. Mm-hmm. We've always had that demeanor. I always had this thing, and this is where I failed as a husband tremendously, and even worse as a father. And I'm paying for that right now. I'm paying for that with my kids right now. Even when I was home, guess where I wasn't? All I was studying on was getting back to work. Phone was ringing all the time with work product. And it got to a point to where, the best thing that happened for my marriage was my career ending. But even prior to even through all of our classes and our growth and on the fire, and my wife told me multiple times, she told me one time after number 2, she said, and she wrote me this letter, and it's in this backpack, I carry it with me. But she said, I'm so proud of you. But in the end, guess what it said? We would like to have that same person at home for us. And I was in, you can say, I guess, denial maybe, I don't know. I knew, when you suck as a husband, when you, you don't, yeah, But all of these guys, the demeanor that we have this week, we've always had. It's never, like I said, we've always sold out classes. That's not because of me, that's because of the men that's made it what it is. And for anybody that walks up, you will never see any of these guys. Now, you might hear some raised voices. You might have to talk to some of these students and get them zeroed back in. You might have to pull them off and go talk to them. And it ain't about what they're doing wrong at that point right there. It might be you just need to go talk to them and hug their neck and ask them, hey man, what's going on? Yep. And you might have to just put your gear on and go do it with them. And endure it with them. And every one of these guys will do that. But how they've always treated the students, how they continue to treat the students that's the success of Bears of the Oath. It's not me. These guys make it what it is. And it's grown. And the reason it wouldn't grow this way, 1, if God didn't allow it to, but 2, if he didn't encounter all of us together as friends and brothers. I will do my best to always uphold, if this happens another year after this year, I pray that it's more impactful in somebody's life the way it was with mine. First, before the training. Because these guys, you won't get no better. You'll see these guys, and there's great guys, great groups like this all over the world, all over, Florida. It doesn't matter, Texas, they're everywhere. But to have the relation, I've went and taught for years with a bunch of different groups. I met people at FDIC places, and you think they're like me and you, right? Till you find out when you get on the training ground, they're nothing like you. And I was just like, man, I don't want to be a part of that. And it always drove how I look, my vision of how we should be as instructors, yes, but as setting an example. But I sucked at doing that at home. I didn't, but I did not know it either. But it's probably, Jeremy Donch asked us one time at FDIC when they had National Fire Radio doing podcasts in the Mercedes booth. And he said, what is Bears of the Oath? And I looked right at him and said, it's the best thing ever to me. And it is. But my mindset then versus what my mindset now, I would say that again today, but I'm going to tell you why I think it is. It's not because of the training. It's because of the men that God's put in my life to hold me accountable and to take and save me. I was and I didn't tell people. I was very prideful and ashamed and hurt. And I didn't tell people that I was struggling. But now, the training is just a plus for it for me. But when you get to see what all these guys do and how they interact with one another, it's just God. So.
Yeah, to come to this training the first time, and to even, my training experience was always Fire Academy. And so it was very regimented. And then to be around a bunch of guys that were very laid back. There wasn't a bunch of yelling. It wasn't a bunch of name calling. It was just literally like, hey, I'm the same as you. I'm no different. But let me show you something cool. Let me show you something new. And that's what drew me back. Even though this is technically, I guess, my second time to even be here. But I've been a huge supporter of it. And just to hear your story from a year and a half ago to what God's done in your life. Even then, at that point in time, whenever I was there and we did the pledge and we did a prayer, never heard of doing that at a fire training conference. And so now it's almost like, even with Kevin, it's like before every time we start the class, we always start off with a prayer. And it's not as to make it a show or anything like that, or to do anything. It's just to basically bring God's presence here. Hey, protect us. May we glorify you in everything that we do. It's nothing more than that. And I think that's what I think. I'm not saying that we're any better than anybody else. But I think that's what separates us from other trainings and potentially other cadres. I'm not saying that they don't do that, but and to echo what you're saying though, is it's like that's why people are coming. People are hungry for something like this. So from me to you, Shane, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be a part of this in a very special way. So
Thank you. I'm gonna tell you something else. I don't do nothing now. When it comes to Bears of the Oath or how we do things, there is a group of people that before we do anything, Kevin's a big influencer in that. Nate's a big influencer in that. The painters, Corey Thompson. There's guys that. But perfect example. We needed somebody for work a couple months ago. Kevin says, "Hey, Josh is available." That's enough for me because I trust that, right? I knew Josh, but I didn't know Josh was helping Kevin grow Daggum in their media side. Reached out and to be able to take and have that camaraderie with your best friends and say, hey Josh, use Josh, let Josh help you guys. It was a bit and for him to take 10 days from his life, or 10 or 11 days, however long, we've been here since Wednesday.
Yeah.
Right? To leave his life, to leave his job, for all of these guys to do that, but to come here. And he's working, right? This is you'll see, to make this what it is, these guys are working. But for him to take his personal life and put on hold, he's got a girlfriend, he's got a job, and for him to come here for free and do that, you have to love. You have to truly care about people and love them and mean it. And because they have to know. They have to know that you care about them. Because anybody, like people, it don't matter talent levels. Like we was talking about, me and Travis were talking about somebody a little while ago, young man, a lot of potential, right? We'll say a lot of potential. How well do we know him personally? Neither one of us know him personally, but he keeps coming to these classes, right? But to watch somebody, to be effective and watch somebody grow, whether they're on a total different playing field than us, right? Mentally and tactfully or skillfully, for them to take and trust you and to work as hard as you want them to work, the only way anybody will ever do that is they got to know you care about them. And sometimes that's not easy for us to do, right? We have to learn to do that. But for me, God's always given me that opportunity. I just didn't realize it was God giving me that opportunity. I thought I was just a good person because that's how I'd done things. No, man, that was God giving me an opportunity to take and be influential in somebody else's life. But I didn't always do it correctly. But thank you. It was these. I hope you get this experience, man. I pray you get to experience that all week with these guys, and hear their stories, because their stories are amazing. Man, there's so many awesome people.
But so I can tell you, I met Shane a few years ago. Well, back before Jefferson, 4-3, and had a lot of respect because the way this cadre and the way this whole thing works is I've been through a lot of different hot classes, a lot of training, different companies, and you always have those instructors that are that beat down type of instruction. I've never seen that at any instructor in this conference or at this cadre ever. Like you said, you may have to raise your voice and get somebody snapped back a little bit, but it's always done in a professional, caring way to make the correction, not in a disciplinary way. And it's funny because me and Kevin were talking about this earlier too. I'm probably the least religious person in this group. I've never really grown up religious. But knowing how he is and how this cadre is, and then Jefferson, if you remember, 3, it was me and 5 of my guys were supposed to go. And like 2 days before, I fell out of our burn building and tore my bicep. I wasn't able to go. Hated it. Didn't get to. But I wanted our people to experience what these guys do. And then we became a little bit closer. And when he asked me to be part of this, I was humbled, and I still have that same feeling, that imposter, feeling like I don't belong. But like I was telling Kevin, he posts testimonials every day, and I read them every day. And the more I'm around, the more I hear things in my life that they're talking about that really seem to be like, well, maybe that's really what it is. And everything that's happened to me in the past couple months, with my wife and work and everything else. And me and Kevin were talking about today. And me and Kevin made a comment, which he's probably right. There was a reason we were put together to have this conversation today. I was talking to my wife after we went upstairs because I asked Shane what the plan was tomorrow. And he said, "We're going to church. You want to come?" Last time I went to church, I was probably 13 and I was locked up. And that was the only reason why I went, so I can get out of myself. Really uncomfortable. My wife was like, "Go, it's probably good for you. You ain't been in over 30 years. So the quality of people and the way things are put in has affected my life. And I'm still open to see, how it goes and how it grows. But this is the quality of people. I just met Josh, met Nate and Tifton, man, had great conversations. Kevin, have great conversations. Getting to meet people that are on the national level, is just, you can't explain, and like he said, it's truly is just a friendship. It's nobody, I haven't seen anybody yet that has been better than somebody else. So I've been truly blessed in that aspect of even being asked to be part of this. And it's been big for me.
Me and Daniel talked about it a few 6 weeks ago. So we'll say we was talking, like we were just talking because he told me, he said, "Man, I'm gonna make it." I knew he was coming with Nate. And I said, "Man, how cool would it be to sit and do what we're doing?" Didn't I have no idea Josh was going to be here at the time. Didn't know you were going to be here at the time. I knew Kevin was going to be here. I knew Nate was going to be here. I was like, man, let's just sit and talk and just And just, for me, I know for him, when I went upstairs, after we got on the elevator and you went in your room, the first thing I went and done is I got on my knees and prayed. And I was thankful that you were here to get to experience. I had this right here, right now. I'm glad you're here. I couldn't.
You going to church with us tomorrow?
Hey.
All right,
Let's go.
man. That's what I'm talking about.
And so
That made my day
you
right
see what
there.
I'm saying, man? You just never know these opportunities that he's going to give you.
Shoot.
And I walked away from so many of them for so many years, and I didn't even realize what I was walking away from. It was right after Bears last year. When we go to Miami in January? After Bears, wasn't it? When we went to Miami?
No, I don't know, man.
Anyhow, it was right after. Yes, because you and Daniel were talking about on your podcast, or you and Brandon were talking about. I was on the way to his house. No, I just left your house that morning, going to Miami to meet him. And I think Nate sent me the podcast. Nate or Brandon won, and I was listening to it going down the road, and I was like, man, that's awesome. And then I got to listening to your story. You and the guy, what was the guy that was with you at the conference? Your buddy that was doing the podcast?
Oh, Jose?
Yeah, Jose. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, I was so, like, I was like so pumped up about that. I was like, man, God, please give me the means to support them and help them, right? And then we got to talking, and then Brandon, of course, I keep in touch with Brandon, and like I told Brandon, and when we were in Tifton, he was talking about life's tough for him right now, right? He's busy and he's got a lot going on at home, and he was telling me some things. I said, hey man, I pulled him to the side and said, let me tell you something. What's not gonna change is in whether you're only on the job for a few years, which he is, and he's got a young family, and he's got a passion for it, right? He's doing really well, but he wants to be involved in so much, and he was trying to, and I was sitting there listening to him talk about the bout. And I just said, look, bro, let me tell you something. This same fire service will be here in 5 years, right? Those girls, I'm telling you, I'm not telling you this because I'm telling you because I've done it all wrong. This fire, they won't be. And at the end of the day, whether you have a glorious career and everything was great, but I'm gonna tell you what happens. When it's done and over, and whether it's prematurely or you think it was prematurely or you didn't, for me, I didn't understand why at the time. I was angry. The only thing you have whether your career was great and ended just perfectly, when it's done and over with, you know what we do as a fire service that sucks? When your job is gone, guess what? Somebody else fixing to get it, right? But guess what? The only thing you have when it's done and over with is your family. When I say your family, right? But your family can be extremely big, and I think your family also includes the people. One, it's got to be God, it's got to be your wife, and it's got to be your children. It took me a long time to figure that out. I had gummed that up from day one. But then the people that he puts in your life, like we're good at this. I don't mean that boastfully arrogant, like we're good at this, but what we're good at is being good at how we do things. The skills we were talking about this earlier, the skills are not hard. You know why people don't succeed in the fire service at being good? It's because they're terrified. They're scared. They're scared to fail, right? Most people are scared to fail, and then they're scared to get beat up on it or how they look at them. They don't really, once you enjoy the job and realize you have to fail to be good, to grow. But at the end of the day, when your job's done, all you got is your family. And when Brandon told me that, I was just like, man, those girls matter. And your wife, listen, don't matter how much or how good you do in the fire service, if they don't feel the same, if they don't have the same out of you, more out of you, it will never mean much, nothing. It won't mean, just because their daddy was a fireman. Guess what? I got a 21-year-old, 22-year-old in April, and I got an 18-year-old. Anything I've done with Bears of the Oath, anything I've done in my fire service career, great, good, bad, or terrible, they don't give two rats' asses about that. They don't. You know what I'm paying for now is because I wasn't a father at home for them. I'm having to pay and endure that consequence right now. I can tell you 2 years ago, I would be an angry individual right now. I talk to God and pray to God about that every day. But at the end of the day, when your job's over, All you got's your family. And those friends that you make and he presents to you, and that's why I said earlier today, you see these memes, or not memes, but these reels all the time. You got 5 guys that you can call day or night, and you can count them on one hand, consider yourself lucky. Bro, I got like 50. I mean, I'm talking, you like, and I would do the same for them. And it ain't got nothing to do with bears with oath to the fire service. That's just what God used to put them in my life. They saved me. They've taught me how to be a better husband. We've struggled as husbands and fathers together and openly talk about it with one another. Even the path I'm on right now, I'm not strong enough to do it by myself. I'm weak. I'm a weak flesh sinning man. But without them to hold me accountable with no judgment and you can tell them anything good, bad, or ugly, and you don't have shame for what they know about you. That's family too. I'm the luckiest dude sitting in this room, sitting on this fire ground, just because God's chosen me to get to do the things that I get to do, but I had to learn a long, hard lesson. And he's put all of these men in my life that I truly believe care about me, and I care just as much about them. But at the end of the day, man, that's all you got when this job's over. Don't matter how good or how lustrous it was. Yep. So I'm very, very thankful. Very thankful. I enjoy talking about these guys. When their families when you're one of the best men you know in your life, his daughter's having trouble at school, that makes me mad. You know, or one of your best friends that you see how good he really is, and he endures something in his career, and it changes the path of his course. God, that makes. But to see them overcome that, only because of God. Some of that stuff's tough, bro. And I pray that anybody that we get to come in touch with and get to share our testimonies with, I pray that they never experience some of what these guys have to experience professionally, mentally, or
personally. Same. So you were talking earlier about shouldering it for them. And it's this weird balance of feeling like it's a responsibility to do that for them because you've been through it and you got God. But at the same time, you do it not because it's your responsibility, but also because you're just grateful that God pulled you out of it. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, very much so. I know how bad I hurt and how the struggle I had, but I also, once I finally surrendered myself, I realized that others had it far worse than I did. Even my bad days weren't as bad as some folks are experiencing right now that we know. That, you know, and I also know the reason that I had to go through all of that is because I chose to do it my way and I didn't do it his way. And so I pray for them to have that encounter and help them, because I pray God will use me to show them and lead them to Him. That's why.
Think about the night that you reached out to me, that text, when I was going through one of my situations at work that he was talking about. He reached out, and we had a conversation through text, and I asked him a couple questions thinking he knew what was going on. His response was, "Man, I didn't know. God just told me today to call you. I'll send you a text." And I was like, "Wow, you really didn't know."
No, I didn't know. Saturday night.
It was almost like he knew what was going on before we even started talking. He just I just felt like I was supposed to call out and reach out to you today. It's just weird how
I no longer believe in coincidences, because I had that happen to me many times when I was lost, seeking somewhere in between, but didn't understand it. And I got a phone call, at a like really coincidental time. And it's no coincidence, man.
No, I can tell you, if God does, when you know it's God and He puts that on your heart, if God puts somebody on your heart, for me now, this is what I've had to learn to do this, right? I've had to be more disciplined in this. When God puts somebody on my heart out of the blue, don't ignore that. Don't ignore that. Just because you don't know the simple phone call or text message, just hey man, hey, he's thinking about you, I'm going to tell you God put you on my heart because He did. But don't ignore that. You don't know who.
at Conference 5. First time I met Blake.
Yeah.
I hadn't really had a good chance to talk to Blake a lot, but we had conversations that day because what Blake does about mental health. Wasn't too long after I lost my nephew to mental health issues. And Blake actually knew who it was. And it was like you said, there is no coincidence, but it was just me struggling with that as it was already. And then here it is, I meet this guy and this is what he does. It was just placement.
Yeah.
So when I was asked to be part of it, I was like, absolutely, you know. The kind of people I've met through this cadre has been above and beyond what I expected.
It's very overwhelming because these two men, the time they were placed in my life, you heard my testimony. I had the opportunity to share that last year in my presentation. When I was in the darkest moment of my life, and we talked about this on the way up here, and I was going through a struggle. I was battling my own demons, battling the line of duty, the in-home struggles, all of that compounded. And I meet them, we meet online. And through, I don't know who established the first Bible study, the big group. Remember the big one we did?
Snow?
It might have been Snow.
It was Snow.
It's snow.
So Chris Snow and these guys, and kind of the conversations, we just kept building off that. From social media through God, essentially, that's the blueprint, right? That's he built this. And we start becoming friends, and they don't realize it at the time, but it's in my dark period. And I actually am meeting these men who are taking the time to know me and truly develop a friendship and a relationship. And it was at dadgum 23 or 22?
23.
23.
Yeah, that's when I first met you.
Yeah. I remember telling my wife, I got to go to Texas, because I hadn't met them. That's the interesting thing about, if you want to talk about our circle and our tribe, you know, 3 in Texas, 2 in Georgia, 1 in South Florida, and they're men I probably see 2-3 times a year, tops. And they're the closest men. I'm 50 years old. I haven't had friendships like this in my entire life. And I made it a point to fly to Texas to meet these men in person, and it was just through that, and I didn't even stay the whole conference.
One day.
I flew in, stayed the night, went to the conference, and flew home the next, the lecture series. That's when I saw Andy Starnes the first time. And I flew home the next day. And from there, our friendships just continued to build, and then I went out to another dadgum, got invited to go with Kevin and got to teach, and with Shane. I think the first time I taught with Bears was at Moeller's
Yeah.
in Tennessee. And that's really when I got connected with this group and like what they've shared. That was what was overwhelming to me, is I met them at that conference and I met them the next year, but it was just something different and something special that really attracted me to this entire group of men. And then when I wasn't surprised because of Shane. And the interesting thing about just all of this and how it's grown, and he talks about that 2-year lag. Well, that's when I had entered into his life, and the similarities in what we share through our own personal struggles and how we were there for each other is just something very special that we have held and gone through with us 3 sitting here. And the support system that they've given me, they have no idea. Like, I can't even put into words what they've done to impact my life. And last year I was blessed with the opportunity. I wasn't asked, I was told to come speak. But it was the greatest moment, It was just, I've tried to share with you in past, you just can't put what this conference means into words. It truly has to be something you experience personally. There's no words that we can do to justify what you're going to get out of this. But yeah, no, I love these two guys. It's it's really interesting, like I told you, where I'm at in my life and with the men that are in my life right now at my age. Like I told you, I've never had men this close to me. I thought I knew what friendship and brotherhood was, and it didn't take brotherhood in my own fire department. And I don't say that mean to my department, but men that I've known for a very long time don't scrape the surface of what I've developed in the last few years with these two men right here. When I tell you mentors of my life, they're mentors of my life. I bounce everything off them. They know everything about my life. That dark period for me, there are multiple things that happened, and these are the two that know every in and out of my life. And I'm grateful for them.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah, so I'd gone, I guess, the third one just as a student. We came across just through somebody else from the area that had gone to a training where they were at. And pretty much, I think Shane had told a dude, bring somebody, or you can come if you bring somebody for free or something. So this dude was real hungry to bring somebody. And we were at it was a neighboring department. And so we're at a mutual training. And one of my coworkers were talking to that guy, and that's what he was trying to do, was recruit him. So he comes back to the truck, and he's actually the rookie we're waiting on. I'm like, what are you doing, man? We're ready to leave. And then he tells me about it, and it's really stood out to me. I was like, I want to go to that. And so next thing you know, we're driving, a big group of us, I don't know, 7 or 8 from Texas, 16 hours through the night, multiple vehicles, just straight through. And we show up, ready to rock, man. I actually remember meeting Shane where he was standing and everything, shaking his hand. And the only real big trainings I'd ever done before, nozzle forward was a big class for me. It turned the light bulb on for me in a lot of aspects of engine ops and stuff like that. But this ended up, looking back in my life, hit even just harder than that with what it was. And we went there, we kicked butt, we rocked the training, we had a blast. We took it all back, installed a bunch of the stuff into our department, and just started to spread. He works close to me, just started to really spread in the area. So our chief was on board, like he said about our chief. He was bragging on this other chief that I haven't met yet, and I feel exactly the same. Like, this chief I was working for, you can't find anybody better than him. And so we would budget for it, and we would send dudes. So right away, the next one, we go again at Dalton, and we were actually sitting in the lobby one night. I don't remember who all came, but I know it was me. Oh yeah, it was me, Chris Everett. We're the only two that came to the lobby, and everybody else stayed back because they're tired. And these guys had invited us to the lobby and stuff. I was like, man, I'm not gonna not go hang out in the lobby. Like, Raymond Dorval's there and all these people. So we're sitting there, and Richie or somebody or Dorval had some old engine ops book out or something like this.
Richie, he had a Fort Lauderdale manual from 1977.
This thing's like falling apart and stuff, and I just start talking engine ops stuff of things I do and everything else, and Richie kind of perks up. I see it in him. And next thing I know, he kind of mentions to me that day or the next day, like, hey, man, I think maybe you'd be good for the team. I'm going to say something to Shane or something. And I'm starstruck, like back to, not feeling worthy and stuff like that. And that's still in me till today. And so it just blew my mind. Richie would kind of like come check in with me every now and then. Like, I talked to Shane a little bit and this and that. And next thing you know, I'm asked to come back to actually teach at the next one in Dalton. And it just blew my mind. I remember, and still to this day, I worked my butt off because of the opportunity. And a lot of it has just really, really grown from there. I mean, I think I even mentioned to you the last one, and it's just out of respect for the group and everything else. I don't know how to say this in a nice way, but because of what I think of the group and stuff, like, I don't feel like I'm even all in on the group yet. Like, I'm still very appreciative to be here, and I don't worry about it. Like, time takes care of itself. All of that will come, but I just think so much of these guys, and to even be thinking that I'm going to be speaking in front of them Monday is just really, really surreal. The opportunity is not taken lightly, and that's why I'm really fired up for Monday, man. I'm ready to bring it.
And Nate talked about the impact that they've had in my life, but like, for Bears to be what Bears is, right, you have to have all of these guys. I have to have him. Each one of them has this, but now I put a lot on him to make sure that my mind stays correct and how we do things. I look at him as influential as myself and others, because it's way out of my realm. You know what I'm saying? And I say that probably, but the same way that that's how I feel about I feel the same way about them. I can tell you, when they came to from Texas the first time, we were blown away that they drove and then what was cool was, and I had so much admiration for his fire chief, because he was telling me about their fire chief and how they were one station. Like when they came from there, I was like, I assumed all of these guys coming from one department, there was multiple stations, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember we were talking about it, and I was like, he said, no, they're one station. I said, well, if y'all are all here, who's working? And he said, my chief, not only does he give us city vehicles to drive halfway across the United States, he pays for them to come, pays for them to train, and then makes it mandatory overtime for the fire department to still. And I remember him telling me, and I thought, man, right? Like what a awesome, and those guys showed out. Like they were very proud. Like Texas is a big deal, right? And they showed up with their flags. They showed up and they represented not only their departments, but their culture, where they came from, right? And like
it was a big deal from your department to send you to do all that. We showed up very serious. Like we didn't come to drink or whatever. It was coming to get the work. Like we caught on that there was good live fire over here, and that's what it was. A big part of it was we don't have good live fire here in Texas because of the facilities or restrictions and stuff. Well, our chief was like, we're gonna send y'all so y'all have it.
That's a lot of money, right? To pay for all of that the 7-8 days that they were gone, from the time they were gone, for him to take and expense that for them. I remember telling some of the guys, like, we got to make sure, not only everybody else, but we got to make sure these guys get everything. We want them to come back, right? And they worked hard. They did. They showed out. They were serious on the fire ground. There was a lot of students there that were there, and they were working hard, but they didn't know. These guys at Jackson County, they killed it. And then when they came out, they knew they killed it. But it wasn't in just that. It was in how they trained in the teaching state, and it was just, and like that's one thing I will say that I've always paid really close attention to people's character and their effort, and and I was really drawn to that. And it wasn't just them. Then they started bringing, and the young man he was talking about was Ramiro Cano, and he'll be here. He's the one that started it, really. And we honored him last year. But I met Ramiro Cano in 2019 or 20, I can't remember, 20 I think, in Ohio. You can't help but like neither one of those guys. I only met Ram at that point, and we fell in love with him. I fell in love because I was the only one there, and that's what he was talking about. Like I told him, I said, hey, you bring somebody from Texas, you come. And then they started coming by the herds. And you had Universal City, Schertz, Porter, Smith County, Live Oak. There's a couple more. And like these dudes were coming like 3 and 4, and like they were making up they were putting a huge dent, and they all worked hard. I remember seeing him the first time I met him running across the front of the burn building at Dalton with a 35-foot 2-fly. And like I was standing there, I looked up and I was standing beside Webb, and there he goes like this, and I went. And I walked right over there, and he went to the B side of Dalton's building. He threw that thing. I was like, but I didn't realize what God was doing. I had no idea what God was doing then. I thought it was just Bears of the Oath and the fire training and all these cool. And you're right. I'll say it right here. Ain't nobody burns like we burn in Georgia.
That's right.
But.
And we still complain about it.
Yeah. But like I had no idea. All of us sitting here right now at this moment, Bears of the Oath is one of two things. It can be a brand, or it can be what it's turned into. And that was what God was using. And we all had to go through some serious personal life changes.
It's just every time I come to something related to Bears, I just end up meeting more great men. It's really mind-blowing to me what started in Texas to where we are today in Georgia, and just my short time and the amount, like, I can't even name them all right now. Just, you'll see them here. But each and every one of them is something special. And I love them dearly because, like he said, man, you won't, like, and he said, it's a testament. The training is awesome, but it's just how you watch how they pour in to people. And I think we all can attest to this. I think the bottom line is the relationship aspect of it. I think everybody truly believes in that, and really getting to know not only the instructor, but the student, more importantly. And students, like, over the years, I've got so many students that I'm great friends with.
We don't tell them no. Like, there's guys that you'll get to meet starting tomorrow night, young men that's been coming to all these classes just like him, just like Travis, that they've taken all the classes. And the rule is you never tell nobody no. It's just, I've always been very vocal about that. So whether they can pay to be here or they can't, you don't tell them no. Because if they want to be here, I didn't even realize it then. I was, my own selfish pride and ego was saying, I thought because I was just a great person that if somebody wanted to come and they couldn't, you facilitate that for them. I didn't realize that was God allowing me to do that at that time. You know what I'm saying? And now, and how it's gotten as big as it is because all of these students, these kids, these young men, they keep coming back. And I'll be honest with you, bro, I ain't gonna speak for everybody, but I ain't getting no younger. You know, and then I'm gonna use him as a perfect example. Like, we used to teach engine ops. Fairly good, I thought it was great, but like, when you see somebody that can make it better and then can present it the same way, bro, get out of the way. Let him look at what he's grown to do that, him and all of his guys. And if they want to take and be involved, why would you tell? But I didn't realize that was God. Yeah. And the goal now is, the first opportunity and goal is that they see that anybody that comes, that anybody that wants to be a part of it, take one class or come back and take them all and start helping. Like, you'll see, there'll be 50 people out there that's not students. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Just hanging out?
No, not working. Because when you run it, we're going to run 90 burns. We'll have 90 burns on Wednesday.
Someone's going to be doing something.
Like, to run 90 burns in one day with 30 students, so they're all getting 3 on the nozzle, right? You're going to run 90 burns. 10 people don't do that. We used to kill ourselves doing that. And now you got all of these guys. I'm sitting here, I can pull it right here and show you this instructor list of all these guys. But you look down and you see all these young men that were students. That's how it grows. And when you realize that what you instilled in them to become better, and then you start watching them do it, and they're better than you ever was, boy, you need to get out of the way and let them do it. So for me, simply, is to see and give somebody the opportunity to see God's presence in our lives. And the 2 is to take and glorify all of these guys and give you and every student that comes this week from 17 different states throughout the week the opportunity to meet them and to experience what I get to experience every day.
I was just thinking, when I got to come to this class, it was by happenstance, because one of the guys, Zach, he was signed up to go, and then he had gotten a bicycle accident and he broke his collarbone. He wasn't able to go. And so that's when I think I had heard them talking about this, and I was like, man, that sounds pretty awesome. And so they were like, hey, do you want to go? And I was like, yeah. So it's like, I wasn't even supposed to be there technically.
Right.
It should have been Zach. And so, like, that's just a testament there
right.
of, God's providence, and leave the state, travel with, 3 other dudes cross country, make those memories with them, and then be able to not only learn from a bunch of great dudes, but then also to establish these friendships and things. I think the overall theme of the Bears conference, it's friendship. It's relationship. It's not just, hey, come to this and get this awesome training and then go home. It's make connections. That's what this is all about. And so being able to do that and then being involved with you, I mean, this past year I've gotten really close with Kevin, and I selfishly wanted to be that, like, one of those, like, you know, instructors that's on the circuit for the longest time. And it wasn't until I started doing stuff with media that I really started. I told Kevin this. I was like, I really found my purpose within all of this. You know, as much as I love to teach, but it's like I love telling that story through photography, through video, allowing students to see what they've been able to do and accomplish, and go home and, you know, show their friends and family or whoever, hey, look what I got to do, right? And so, like, yeah, like this has been very, I think, instrumental in development because of the relationships that have formed from it.
You know what's really cool? I was looking on the website. It's always, we've got all the, not all of them, but all the conferences, and a lot of the department classes are posted on the website. And I was going, and I try to make a point to do it when I'm on the website or I'm working on stuff. I always go and look at the previous, and I always start with number one because they're all on there. And you go and look, and Jesse Castillo's got, to me, has always been one of the coolest, most iconic pictures at Jefferson. Him hanging in that window off the ladder with the smoke bellowing out, whether it's blacked out or it's color, it's just like, and I'm sitting there and like, this is a young man from Texas. And then to know what he's experienced the last couple of years, right? And then to know that he's working behind the scenes, honestly fighting for everything he's got right now, right? I ain't never experienced nothing like that. I pray to God I don't, but and I told him the other day, he sent me this long text message, and he still sends guys, because he's in a role now like Chief Sherber was, but he's a training captain, and he's out there pressing and promoting to send guys from Texas, and there's 3 coming, right? And he was supposed to be here, unfortunately can't make it due to what's going on in his life right now. But like I always look at those pictures. There's pictures of him on there. There's and these guys. It started with Daniel Redbird, and he does a great job telling stories, right? And what I always admired about him was, if there's 150 people on that ground he's going to, and that was what I said, man, make sure that everybody gets to see themselves, because I don't give a crap what people think. You want to see yourself, right? It's not just see yourself, but it's a memory, right? And then it's a memory of the people that you got to meet or showed up with. And I go through those pictures and I look, and there's several that stick out. That one with Jesse Castillo, and last year everybody piled up and gathered around that cross on day one. You know, and I sit back and look, and I go in my mind like, man, I remember exactly where I was mentally at that point in time. And then I can almost see where I went wrong with it. Bears look great, but I was doing this, right? And to see those, and to remember that, and to see these people still coming back, that's not me. There's two reasons. It's God and all of these guys. That's it. And now you'll have Josh, Redbird, Samantha Worthy. Look at the work they do. And like, we're having a ball out there, right? And they're working hard, and then they have to come and edit this and make this to where they get where it's a tellable story. I think what Vanessa said the other day, she's a digital storyteller. Somebody would have told that to me years ago, I'd have been like, what? That's exactly, and like that in itself is a blessing and a talent to watch what they do and what it takes, like just what you're doing with all this stuff is expensive, right? And they got to have that to be able to portray that for the young man that might come once or has been coming for 5, 6, 7 years, you know, and they do a phenomenal job at that. And it wouldn't be half of a memory is being able to see it again. Whether if it's in your head or you get to see it in picture, and then what you're going to get to do this week, what these guys are going to get to do, man, that's God. That's just a blessing, you know.
There's that picture of me hanging out the window, dropping the baby, and I'm I can distinctly remember how I felt. Like I was on fire because I had gotten saturated with heat in that upstairs room at Dalton.
Wasn't expecting that.
I remember exactly. I'm coming down that ladder and I'm off gassing and everything, and I just remember feeling like I was on fire. And I told Brandon, I was like, "We got to get out now." And Brandon gets out and just slides down that ladder.
Yeah.
And here I come out, and I'm like, "Oh my God, this is hot! I'm hot! Just don't touch me!" Like, yeah, the floor was hot.
There ain't nothing about there. Their old building was the same building, just 180.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah. And they had a room at the top of the stairs. We were at MAPSI one year, and I took it. They had when you went up top of the stairs, there was a room there was one right there in front of it, and then there's one at the AB corner of the building. And I took a pallet and threw in there, and like in the air, that thing catches on fire before it hits stuff. And I was like, and it was amazing. But I'll tell you something that's really awesome and gratifying. These classes aren't easy, especially if it's the first time a lot of this time is the first time they're ever experiencing any skills like that, much less, we don't cut them no break. We make it as real as we can. But to see that and then them complete it and to see how happy they are and proud of themselves they are, because let me tell you something. We ain't never had nobody quit, leave, or fail. The quitting and leaving is on you. But there's something that happens before that happens. It means you have to fail. You know what keeps them from failing? All of these dudes. They never once. Now, yeah, you got hot, you might have burnt your knees, but there's nothing more rewarding than watching these guys come out and they're so excited and they're hugging each other, high-fiving each other, because it's courage. You're creating confidence in them to take and overcome failure to become, and then when they understand it, and then they want to go again. You know, and you literally watch, especially the ones that's here all week, and it'll be easy to watch. You'll see it with your own eyes. Watch them on Tuesday, and watch them at the end of the evening or Thursday for you guys, or Wednesday. But Friday night, when it's done and over, like and watch how proud they are, and watch how successful they are, and what they've done. It's done for them mentally, and how these guys treated them. It's awesome.
You said earlier everything was a plan. I've been back with Douglas County 20 years in October, and I've always considered myself kind of that hard charger pushing, right? And we never really had a whole lot of people in that aspect in our training division, or to really push the training. We'd have a couple of us that we're going to conferences trying to bring stuff back, but you always got shut down. Since I've been back, we had a grab 4 or 5 years ago. I was still a captain. That's the first one we had in probably 15 years. Well, now I look at the department we got. There's 4 guys in our department that are Bears, that are with the Bears, and 3 of them are in the training division. And the quality that our recruit classes are coming out now, and the things that they're learning, we were just talking about today, in the last 2 months, we've had 3 grads. And it's all the stuff that has been brought, taught, and placed for, this same things being, and it's all been, whether BEIS or searching off of a hose line, in front of a hose line, whatever, stuff that we've tried to push for a long time, we've never been able to get through. Then all of a sudden we've got these 3 great guys, that are in the training division, been playing it, and 2 of them are part-time. They work for other departments, but they come for us part-time. And then 1 is now just made training chief, but they're still, that focus is the same. It's that same mentality is to spread. And like I said, to put those people in that place in that amount of time and be able to do that, there's, like you said, there's got to be a plan to it.
Wow. That's awesome.
I'm going to be biased and say this is the best training you're going to get cross country, Bears of the Oath. But the separation, I come in, I don't think you can say it enough for Shane, and I'm so proud of him, because I know exactly what he has overcome personally in the adversity, but how he has grown in his spiritual growth and who he has become is been beautiful to watch, but then his obedience to what he's now turned this into, and he does his ultimate, he's looking for the ultimate grab, and he's got faith on the line, and that's what he cares. I know that, and it's not to take away from the actual hands-on hot training, because I will say, like I said, I'm biased. I think it's the best you're going to come across. But I commend him so much, man, because I know that 2-year period, what he talks about, that lag and what he struggled, almost giving it up. You remember those conversations us three have had? You almost gave it up. He was ready to walk away. He literally was ready to walk away. He was basically done. And to see the growth and where he's come, and it's been beautiful. And just to see now at what this has become, and I can't even imagine. We talked about it earlier. Last year was new-ish, and nobody really knew what to expect. The buzz after, like, I don't even, this year is going to be, yeah, it's not that God would say, hold my beer, like we talked about, but God, I literally feel like God's like, like you think good with last year was whatever, like here, hold my beer, like just wait and see. Like I truly believe that, because I think last year there was a lot of unknown to it, and it was truly uncharted waters for this and the success. And then now to think of, like, now people saw that, and that hunger. I don't know someone was talking about it earlier. But you talk about it in a faith aspect, that hunger is more prevalent today than it ever has been in my 25 years in the fire service. People are searching. And after experiencing and tasting that, I just feel like this year is going to be even that much more impactful.
I want to, off of what you were just saying, just Psalm 34:8, oh, taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the man who takes refuge in him. Like, that's what he's saying. Like, oh, taste and see. Instead of hold my beer, oh, taste and see. Like,
come on, Nate. You don't even drink no more.
I know, but it's an NA beer.
hold my NA beer. Hold my NA beer.
I was telling him the same thing this morning. We were driving up, and I'm like, I couldn't think of anything else. That whole meme, hold my beer. Like, I just...
It depends what translation it is. It depends what translation. That's the Georgia translation.
Yeah, there you go.
The Nate Sturm translation.
Yeah.
Man, I'm so grateful. I really am grateful. I do got to tell you, this would not be what it is without God using all of us to get to where we're at. And these men, there's no way it happens without them. It ain't me. I promise you it's not me, it's them. And I'm so thankful that my grandmother used to take my ear when I was a kid, and I ain't gonna say what she said. Come here, Lord. And I used to ask my mom, I said, why does she always pull my ear? And she said, well, son, she loves you. I'm like, God, and she'd take that old theory, like take 7 pounds of pressure to rip her ear off. That's not true. And that's what God did to me. He grabbed a hold of me. And I ain't even gonna lie to you, for probably 3 months, I fought that. Like, I was scared to death of, I knew, like, how's my wife gonna take this? Because she's not for it. And I fought it and fought it and fought it. And we talked about it and we talked about it. I didn't talk about it with her. I talked about it with these guys. And then, like, God got a hold of Mike. And I was sitting in a parking lot in Birmingham, Alabama at a Hampton Inn one night. It was like the beginning of October. I was terrified to call my wife and tell her. I was sitting in a park, wasn't even at home. And I told her, I said, listen, I said, God's put a conviction on my heart, you know. And she said, I know. I said, I can't do this without knowing that you support it and believe in it. I don't really think she was really excited about it, but because of our relationship together with God at that point, she trusted me. And then after the fact, after what, you know, and we literally, I started scrounging, and in like 25 days, 26 days, I put it together. And then November 1st, put it on the internet. And I was like, well, here goes nothing. I'm gonna trust you, God, right? And like, wow. And then I had to really go to work figuring out, and I've never prayed so hard in my life, honestly, to figure out how he wanted to do it. And I prayed for each individual that spoke, and I called all of them, and I told them, I didn't ask them, I told them, I said, you gotta be here. I said, this is really, you gotta be here. But you think about Tom, right? It was Kevin. Kevin had mentioned something about it before, even before we got to the point of saying, we're gonna do it. Kevin had brought something up months before about Tom being the keynote speaker. You remember that? Kevin had said something about it, and I didn't even think nothing about it, and bam, like God's like, Tom had just experienced something very traumatic in his life.
Tom Holland.
Yes, and within something very close and personal to him within his job. And then Nate, like, he put Nate on me.
And what's crazy about that, what a lot of people don't know, the men in our group know, we have that one word. Yeah. And we had just released our one words, and mine was disciple. And I didn't know what that looked like. I prayed on my word for 2025, and God gave me disciple. And a week later, Shane Bentley's calling me saying, you will speak. I looked up and said, yep, I hear you, God. I asked for a word, and you gave it to me, and here we are.
And then you look at that, from just that, like at that point, all of that was very personal within all of us, right? And then you shared your testimony, and then look at the outreach that got. Then when you talk to Sparrow, right? And then talk to Daniel. Look at what God has been able to do, because even though we didn't, like, I don't want to do podcasts anymore. And I'm going to tell you, be honest, and a lot of people and don't understand this why, because I got to do a lot of podcasts early on when all of this was happening. And I said a lot of things that sounded really good, right, to the fire service. A lot of them were my personal opinions, but I was feeding something inside of me that was not, and so I was like, man, if I'm gonna sit and talk to somebody on a podcast, there's 100 dudes you can talk to today that are excellent, they're awesome guys that can talk to you about tactics. I even told him when I left his house, when I was on the way to meet him in Miami, like I talked to him and then John Sparrow about what listening to you and Brandon talk when Brandon came down to do it. I was like, man, I was like, I want to talk, if I'm going to be on a podcast or I'm going to talk to somebody, I want to talk about God. Because it's not that the fire services eat up with some awesome chargers, right? Some great dudes. And I respect that, but I don't want to take and get on there, and I want to talk about what God's done in my life. I don't want to talk about all the cool stuff I got to do in the fire service, because a lot of that cool stuff I got to do, I was portraying myself and others as myself, and I hear that, how I was, and I was not who I am now.
So, yeah, firemen need to hear that from guys like you, because like you said, there's a lot of hard chargers out there that can talk tactics and all that stuff, but we're going to hearing the word from another guy, especially somebody that's respected in the fire service, somebody that's a hard charger, like that, that's a strong witness.
And it's not, and I don't mean it to be disrespectful. I know me and Nate talk about it a good bit, about speaking on podcasts. I only want to do it if that's what God wants me to do and I get the opportunity. There's a couple times I've talked to people and I'm like, hey, this is what I'd like to talk about, and you never hear from them again. I'm not mad at them. I'm okay. It's just not what they're, but I'm 100% okay with it.
That's what pushes me to be the best firefighter I can be now, is knowing that just it's a better witness for God.
Yeah. Again, like I wish people, I hope, I pray, I really do pray, and I'll pray this in front of everybody Monday. I pray that everybody there gets to have the same opportunities that I get to have now because of God, and get to have relationships like I get to have. That's so much, that trumps so much of any of the cool stuff I've got to do, particularly in the fire service. But I want to talk about these guys, because what they've done, they had a part in each time. They've had a part in saving me. And God, all of these times when he came to Jefferson, Georgia, when he came to Dalton, when we finally met in Daggum, when me and Travis started becoming friends a couple years ago, I didn't realize that at that time, but all of that was the path that God was using to put us right here where we're at now in this week. It ain't got nothing to do with it. The fire service part of it is the wheel that he's using, but like that's why. That's why we are, that's the opportunity that he's given.
It's special. I think ultimately, man, you want to build a better fireman, you start with building better men and women first. Better husbands, better fathers, better friends. Build an individual, and I'll build you a damn good firefighter.
There's a man that was supposed to be here this week that's not going to be with us now. He got to meet him in September. Nate got to meet him in September. I know God's going to take and bless you three and everybody else at some point to get to meet him. Like, I hate he can't be here, but I know why. And he's doing the right thing. But I pray to be the man that he is, the husband, the father. The other night I sat and prayed when he told me that the other morning that he couldn't. I prayed that at some point, if not this week, God, please don't rob my friends from getting to take and experience what I've gotten to experience with Bobby Bennett. People like him, Chief Starnes, Blake Stinnett, Jason Painter, Robbie Townsend, these are guys that I've known long before these guys, right? And even in my worst times, they were still, they calling me and telling me they love me and they ain't going nowhere, you know. And I feel like I pray that God gives them, everybody, the same opportunity, if not better opportunities, to meet people like that in their life. That's all this means to me now.
Amen. Well, one more day, boys.
Yeah, man. And then we get to go, and you going to church tomorrow with us. I can't tell you how much that means. I mean that and I'm thankful to God for that. All of us get to experience that together tomorrow, and
That's the best part of this
that's
trip
the best
yet.
part, right?
Yeah,
It's
You know?
rolling. We're starting.
Told you.
It's on.
You guys want to close this thing out with some prayer? Pray over this conference? And
Kevin came, let me say this, Kevin because we were so overwhelmed with God last year, the devil slid right in on us, man. And Kevin had a great forethought, right? You got to have the forethought of the men that impact your life. And Kevin, like, they're looking, when people are looking out for you and they trust and love you and they believe in everything that you do and you get to do together, and they call you up and say, hey, look what happened last year. We got to start every morning by praying a hedge of protection, not over just the morning prayer, but the whole fire ground. And everybody, we got to do it, not just in the morning, we got to do it throughout the day. Like, when he told us that right there, I got cold chills now, because I was like, wow. You know, I was so thankful for that, because I missed that. And I sat right there the minute and I told my wife, I said, I'm so thankful for that, because I missed that whole part of, like, I'm sorry, God, I missed that at that point, but thank you, God, for putting that in his mind, because I was so overwhelmed at a certain point and didn't think.
people in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Amen.
So thank you. He's had a great idea with that, and that's going to protect us, and that's what's going to keep the devil from attacking us.
Let's do it. If you want, I'll start us off, and anybody else wants to jump in and say some prayers. Heavenly Father, Lord, I thank you for this opportunity to meet these great men. I thank you for putting godly men in my life and all the men's lives around us, that you're building us up together. Father, I pray that the words we shared here today would reach people and just inspire them to get more into the Word, to get building their relationship with you, but also sharpen their craft. Lord, I thank you for all the men and women that take the time out of their day and their lives, take their own time, their own money to be here and help build up the fire service with good, godly men, Lord. And I pray that you would just protect the men and women here this week, protect them from injury, illness, protect them from any attacks of the enemy. Lord, I pray that you would just be with us, protecting us, surrounding us with a hedge of protection, Lord. Father, we thank you, Lord, for this opportunity. What a blessing it is.
Father God, I'll echo what was said earlier. We're very lucky. We're very fortunate to spend the time that we've had so far, and for the rest of this week, God, to just be surrounded by such good men, Father. And God, I pray that as this week goes forward, Father, that you impart in us a mindset of thankfulness, that we're able to not only do the job that we love, but the job that you gave us. And that you've given us the responsibility to not only share your word through our testimony, through how we act, Father, but we're thankful, we're grateful. We thank you for what your son did on the cross, Father. Without that, we wouldn't be here.
Yes.
Father and God, I just want to, again, lift all these men that are going to be here, men and women, Father. Put a hedge of protection around us. I pray these things in your son's name.
Lord, I'm thankful, Lord. I'm thankful for you saving me. I'm thankful for the man on the middle cross. I'm thankful for your son. I'm thankful for his blood. I'm thankful for him saving my life, saving my marriage. I'm thankful for the men that he puts in my life, the women that he puts in my life. Lord, I just pray that you put on my mind and my heart what you want me to say Monday. Lord, I pray that you put the words to glorify you first, to take and glorify these men that you put in my life. Lord, I pray that everybody's here, that they see you through all of us this week. I just can't thank you enough, Lord, for saving me, Lord.
I just also pray that you would just encourage everyone that shows up, and that someone who's feeling called to you, Lord, called to share their story, called to get deeper in their relationship with you, Lord. I just pray that this week would push them over the edge, Lord. I pray that each individual in this circle praying here would have an influence in that, Lord. You know each one of us and how where we've been and how we can help other individuals, Lord. I just pray that you would use us.
Yeah, Father, and I just want to continue to pray for anyone connected with Bearers of the Oath. Father, I ask that you look over our families while a lot of us are here. Again, just anything connected with Bearers of the Oath. We just pray that hedge of protection over us all. And more importantly, Father, I just pray that each one of us, as we go throughout the week, allow us to reflect who Christ is. He's our ultimate leader, and we pray that our example is the right example, and hopefully, Lord, through this week that we are able to get that ultimate grab for you, Father, and get that salvation in Jesus' name.
Lord, we just ask that you use us. Use us in any way that you can use us, Father. Lord, I ask this in your almighty name. I'm thankful for this opportunity that you give us tonight, Lord. I'm thankful for the men again. I can't be over gracious to them, Lord. Please let them shine. Lord, I want everybody to see that. I want everybody to see these men and meet them and have the opportunity, Lord. I ask this in your name.
Yes, we love you.
I love you, Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Man, yeah. Excellent. What a great evening closing. Man, how's it keep getting better, bro? It just keeps getting better. God, it just keeps getting better.